For the next panel, we hope to learn a little bit more what it really takes to move beyond visibility and turn an opportunity into a sustainable career. Please welcome here on stage Rabea Schif and the panelists.
Hello, hello, and a very warm welcome, or more a cold welcome in cold Berlin. My gosh, has everybody been surviving Fashion Week so far? Not slipping? Yeah, slipping through. Nice to have you all here. I'm very excited and thrilled to be hosting this panel today because I think it's actually something that's very relevant during Berlin Fashion Week. It's a talk about the importance of ecosystems supporting emerging talent. So we'll be talking about looking beyond visibility and talking about what really helps young designers and creatives build sustainable long-term careers. And for that, we've got three amazing guests I think will be giving you fantastic insights. We've got Scott Lipinski, CEO of the German Fashion Council. For one applause, please. Yes. Don't be shy. It warms you up as well. We've got Rika Behrens, who's a fantastic German designer, fashion designer. And Shailja Dubé, sorry, Deputy Director at the Institute of Positive Fashion at the British Fashion Council. So first and foremost, thank you so much for being here and joining us. And maybe just for our audience here who don't know who you are and what you do, maybe you can quickly elaborate on that. Scott, should we start with you?
Yes. I'm the CEO of Fashion Council Germany. Fashion Council, like other councils in Europe, but also all over the world, are institutions that try and support the local ecosystem of their fashion community. Some have different topics, but there's so many topics that unite us, which is supporting emerging talents. Some of us have fashion weeks that they organize. We give out reports about the status of their local fashion industry, facts and figures. We have education programs. And as I said, some have a different focus, but there's so much topics that unite these fashion councils.
Thank you, Scott. And Rika, do you want to talk about what you do?
Yeah. As Rabea said, I'm a fashion designer. I finished my master degree in fashion 2 years ago in Hamburg. And after that, last year, I founded my own brand, House of AKIR. And I also participated in the first edition of Berlin Curated last year, which was a program to support emerging talents. So the topic is really personal to me. And yeah, as I'm still at the beginning.
Thank you. And Shailja, maybe you want to tell us what you do. You come all the way from London.
I have. Thank you for having me. This is a really exciting series of talks, first of all. I'm Shailja, and I lead what we call the Institute of Positive Fashion at the British Fashion Council. Our directive at the British Fashion Council is exactly as Scott's just described. All of that. We're here to support British designers and as the industry body for designer talent in the UK. And we're also, within that role, a very trusted advisor to UK government as well. And I can talk a little bit more about that later. In my role in particular, leading our sustainability work, we do a series of roadmaps and research and insights to really understand what the future target state of our industry could look like and how we can bring everyone together on that journey as well. And we really leverage at the British Fashion Council our platforms of London Fashion Week, the Fashion Awards, and our key designer initiative, New Gen, as well.
Amazing.
There's one good thing. All over the world, you recognize people from fashion councils. They wear black trousers and red socks and red shoes.
It is. It's a uniform.
I can take my dark glasses off. It's getting twinning.
We love that, though. At least we recognize you. It's great. Amazing. Thank you so much. What I actually really wanted to know is, why is it called Positive Fashion? Why is, you know the name, but why is it the Positive Fashion Institute?
I do know, because we wanted to come up with something that had breadth, less, I guess, buzzwordy, that sustainability could be perceived at. So positive can be quite broad, responsibility can be quite broad. So it was just a word that we felt everyone could get behind in various different dimensions.
Because I love it, because it's good energy. It automatically makes you, it's really great.
That's great.
One thing I wanted to add for the audience, you can ask questions at the end. So if you want to take mental notes or written notes, you all have the opportunity at the end to take questions as well, if you like. Now, we heard the word ecosystem. And that's used a lot in fashion at the moment. From your experience, what does a healthy ecosystem for emerging talent actually look like today? I don't know, Scott, would you like to start?
Well, it depends what you consider the ecosystem and which side you're looking at. So the ecosystem for me is always a big cube, and depending on who you are and which stage you are, and you look into that cube, it can be something different. It can be an ecosystem of, let's say, brands or young designers in total. So what's important for them? Maybe it's sharing knowledge, maybe it's being in a community, having opportunities to meet and get those knowledge exchange formats. It can also be a different angle that as a young creative or as a brand itself, you'll need a different kind of ecosystem where you are. That can be manufacturers, that can be where can you do your samples, where can you sell. So all that is a different part, how you look into it. And we as Fashion Council Germany, and I guess I speak also for British Fashion Council or any other council that's would be sitting on this stage, is supporting those different views into that cube. So creating possibilities of creatives to come together and know each other and share experience. Creating platforms like Berlin Fashion Week, like London Fashion Week, which is nothing else but a platform to support that ecosystem and give talents a stage where they can present themselves. Foster support programs where you can maybe take them abroad and expose them to an international market. But again, it always depends on who are you and which side of that cube are you looking into in that moment.
Shailja, do you want to add something to that from the British side?
Absolutely. I think, again, just to echo everything that you said, Scott, I think that's just hugely important direction and objective setting, and it's about collaboration and working towards a collective goal as well. And I think there's also something around the ecosystem coming together. Community is hugely important, as what's been said, because there's only, especially in the sustainability space, no one can do this work alone. It absolutely has to be in concert, in collaboration, and connection with the rest of the industry, within the industry and actually outside of the industry as well. So there's something about being able to identify who those other actors are and the strengths that they bring, the insights that they bring, because if you learn from each other, everything becomes much more efficient and you can accelerate goals much, much faster. We've, at the British Fashion Council, when we set up the Institute of Positive Fashion, we did so 1 month before lockdown, which was tricky timing, but at the same time, it enabled us to really identify what is the core topic we were going to get behind in the sustainability space, and that was circularity. So we were able to just think about what does COVID and the lockdown situation really mean. It means fragile supply chains. That became apparent very quickly. It means a mountain of waste sitting there across factory floors, in warehouses all over the world. So how could we work together to really mitigate that waste mountain from getting bigger and prevent it from getting bigger in the future? And that is through who needs to be part of the ecosystem to come up with a plan to make that work. And we as a council, we lean into our platform, and we do that by convening many different industry players to help solutions form and help to identify what the barriers are.
And does the German and the British Fashion Council, do you communicate amongst each other as well? How does that work?
Yes. For a long time, actually, now, we created an organization called the European Fashion Alliance, which I'm the chair of. And also there's 4 other chair persons in that alliance, and one of them is the CEO, Laura from the British Fashion Council, but also Pascal from France and from Carlo from Italy. We have someone from Belgium, Elke, and also Cicely from Copenhagen Fashion Week. So we formed that organization as a board, and we have almost every fashion week and every fashion council in Europe as part of that organization. And there's also an ecosystem, if you take that in that sense, where we share knowledge between the councils and see, okay, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? So I don't have to do that mistake maybe again. or what do other markets need? And that's quite a lively discussion when we have our meeting sessions there.
Because I was going to say, I'm sure that Berlin, London, Paris, Milan, everybody has very different issues and very different things, but at the same time, you can learn from each other, which is perfect. It's important to exchange and communicate.
Quite a lot in common, because there's one example. I know that the British Fashion Council launched a report, the status report on the local industry, I think 12, 15 years ago. And I was told back then, not back then, but 7 years ago, it was the best invest because it did open doors, for example, to politicians. Yeah. You were able to explain the industry and give facts and figures about the industry. So we as German Fashion Council said, that sounds reasonable. So we created an own report, and it had the same effect. It opened doors to a group of people called politicians who, till that date, maybe couldn't really grasp what is the German fashion industry. What does it mean? How many people work in the German fashion industry? And as an direct, so who is producing, who is selling, who is creating, also indirect, who is supporting those organizations, which are photographers, models, agencies, so all that ecosystem in the broader sense, that's something I learned from the British Fashion Council. I know that other councils in our exchange said, we need it as well because our politicians don't understand our industry.
I see. Yeah. Very important that you communicate amongst each other. Rika, coming to you. We're obviously here at Berlin Fashion Week, a moment for you to shine and to be seen. But what happens afterwards? I mean, we're here to talk about how can we sustain and maintain the careers and the visibility. And why is visibility in such a moment not enough? What do we need to do to maintain this? Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. First of all, it feels really great to be put in a spotlight somehow. I mean, I had the opportunity to be in an amazing runway show last year, so last Fashion Week in summer, and now in a showroom. That feels great, especially as young designers like me often have something like some kind of imposter syndrome. And to have someone telling you you're kind of good enough feels really good.
Of course.
But this only lasts for a few days or a week or 2 weeks, and you get maybe some requests from a stylist or a magazine, which is awesome, don't get me wrong. But if you don't have a strategy or often even a product to sell or a story to tell that people want to follow and are interested in, it's just a short time, and after that you're alone at home trying to chase the next high, the next spotlight, and that can be really exhausting. So, yeah.
And what do you do to work against that? Who do you get in touch with? Or what do you do?
I think it's important to have to be connected to other young designers, to other people in the industry, or even outside the industry in a startup bubble or something like that. So you know you're not alone, and you can maybe combine the, I don't know how to call it, half-wissen together. And yeah, some may figure out some things you don't. But I mean, I also could use some business advice as well. So I'm still at the beginning. I'm searching for it. Yeah.
But I guess this is also where you guys jump in to help out.
I think we try our best. For some, maybe it's not good enough, but we do try and create platforms, and we try and enhance that community aspect. When I started in the fashion industry, it wasn't about community. It was about more or less silos. And I remember my first job in fashion, it was about, don't tell the interns where we sample. Don't tell the interns where we produce, because they might go to another brand and tell them, and they'll take away our slot in the production cycle. That's an old system, and I see this community aspect, which we try and support. And I see it with so many programs that we have, that these talents come out of that project and they keep on working together. It might not be as a collective, but it might be that, I know that designer does that really good, let's talk together and let's work on that topic together. And I do think that community is key to success, and opening up and trusting the ones that you want to trust, and your gut says, I can trust that.
It's actually really interesting that you touched on that, because it really was, back then in the days, it was all about rivalry and that's mine and that's not ours. But I mean, at the end of the day, again, communication is key, and to exchange and to learn from each other, that's the only way we can grow. So it's beautiful. And I think with things like the Berlin Fashion Week or the Fashion Council in general, where designers can meet amongst each other, Berliner Modesalon, all these places, people can actually learn, well, get to know each other and exchange. And I think that's really important. Like you say, community building, very, very important.
Yeah, I think it don't have to be a competition. I think if you really want to do that, there's enough space for more than you, for all of us, maybe. I don't know. And yeah, so you can focus on your own and talk to each other. I mean, we did it in Berlin Curated as well. After the runway show, if I got an email from a stylist and I never had something like that, I was like, writing some of friends I made at Berlin Curated and asked them, hey, did you also get an email from a stylist? What did you do? And yeah, telling about, well, maybe you should write down some things for that.
Tips.
Yeah.
Now, we just touched on it. What role institutions, brands, and media play in turning potential into real opportunities? But where do you actually, maybe Shailja and Scott, see responsibility being taken, and where is it actually still missing?
I think from our perspective, as mentioned, because we have that trusted advisor role with the UK government as well, the responsibility for us is absolutely providing those platforms to the designers who are part of our network, the business support, the insights, being very, I guess, reactive with global shocks and situations. So, and being able to respond effectively and swiftly to our network to help them make sense of, say, recent events such as the tariffs. What's that going to do for those designers in our network who will be exporting to the US? What is happening with our designers more recently, sadly, with the closure of Saks in New York? And actually that does affect quite a few in our network, and previous multi-brand retailers who have closed as well. How do we set up the right infrastructure very quickly? And that is to enable information sharing, support, connection as well. During COVID, we actually set up a fund, so a financial fund, which was, we were in a position where we could do that, which was fantastic because that did help save many businesses. It's not a sustainable position. We can't do that all the time, but to be able to help with the business intel and the foresights and translate that into, I guess, business resilience and an understanding to the brands so that they have that business acumen as well, wherever we can help provide those insights, we do.
Scott, do you have something to add to that from a German point of view?
It's quite similar. German point of view, if you look at Fashion Council Germany, there's just one difference, that we're the second youngest council in Europe. So we were just founded 10 years ago. You have such a good track record if you go back in the history. And in some stages in the past, we were still learning from other councils, as I mentioned earlier. But it's basically what you just said, and it brings it to the point. We are also aiming for bigger support systems in the future. We are also aiming for certain funds, and we're thinking about in the future creating also an own foundation. But that future won't be tomorrow. It might be next week or the week after.
Mañana. And Rika, from your point of view, maybe you want to explain what kind of support has really helped you, and maybe also what has been missing, or what would you wish for?
I think for me it's really helpful to, as some talks today already said, to focus on my values, or my brand values will be there as well, and to don't look that much left or right, just to think about what kind of brand do I want to see in the world and what does it mean for me. And I think for me personally, and also for other young designers, it would also be, as I said, nice to have some business advisors to learn maybe how to write a business plan, even if it's not that creative like what I usually do, and to know what kind of brand do I want to have. Like, I don't know how to say, like positioning and doing pricing, like, or even the legal issues you sometimes have, to have advisors in these topics as well. Would be really nice. I mean, if you ask a young designer, they often say money, but I don't think that money, helps in the long way. So,
I mean, like you said, you're the creative side, so it's really important that you have someone by your side who helps you with the business side of things.
yeah, I mean, many people talk to me and say, yeah, later you have someone doing that, you don't have to figure out everything your own, blah, blah, blah. But when we be honest, I'm a one-woman show now, so I don't have anyone, I can't pay someone to do that for me, so I have to figure out everything myself at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I need that advice too. I can be only a designer and make creative stuff if I want to build a brand. I mean, there are other paths. You can go with a company that already existing, but if you want to build a brand,
Definitely, and that's great to have people like you to actually come back to and ask questions. Absolutely. Now, I mean, we're living in a time where there's so much short-term hype. There's so much, TikTok. What do you call it again? Like a hype, a short-term hype. But how do we actually work on keeping people alive or brands alive for a long time? I think that's essential and most important question. And how do we create structures that allow people to stay in this industry without just becoming like a one-hit wonder? I mean, Scott and Shailja, maybe you can say how can we do that?
I think over the last 10 years, what we try and do is listen. It comes with a positive effect, but it also comes with a negative effect, that we listen, but we can't maybe support every voice immediately. If there's so many voices that you're listening to, but you can, and our duty is then to filter and see, okay, where are there clusters? Which project should we maybe start in the future, or which initiative should we start in the future? You just mentioned legal support, and I'm looking to you again. I know that you work with a legal firm where you support your talents. We're also thinking about the same structure where a young talent, if it's member in the council or if you're in a program, you have the access to legal support, at least for a call or two. I mean, they won't go to court for you and fight battles, but they will at least give you some tips if you have a question about a contract, or if you have a question about just simple legal matters. Or if it's about your intellectual property rights that you have a question about, and where should I register my trademarks? Sometimes it's just a phone call away. So, and that's what we also heard quite often from members. That would be really cool if we would have something like that. So that's again that listening, and if there's more than one voice or a couple of voices, we try and fulfill those voices that come towards us.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, we have a similar approach as well. So we may host, say, some roundtables and insights gathering around certain topics. AI was mentioned in the previous talk, and obviously that's a topic du jour and is going to dominate the industry for a long time to come. It's multifaceted, it's tricky, it has great potential, it can be very positive. There's a lot in there to unpick and to determine how to help our designers through those particular questions. And it's deeply philosophical as well to many, so we try to keep as balanced an act as we can, because with certainly over 200 designers who are part of our network, that's a lot of perspectives to bring into the fold. So how do we figure out what the overarching needs are? There's a level of external advice given, as well as the in-depth understanding of the business needs and the business challenges. It's this beautiful systemic challenge that we all piece together, bring into that as well the upcoming legislations and the evolving government decisions on so many things. How do all these things work in concert is an ongoing, exciting challenge, but that's basically how we try to address it, as well as, and I think same with yourself, Scott, being more accessible outside of big cities such as London. So we're trying to whilst we've got London Fashion Week, how can we really take that to the rest of the country? So we did a few things last year called Citywide Celebration, where we popped up in Manchester, Newcastle, and Liverpool as well, and were able to, in the weeks leading up to Fashion Week in September and then afterwards, but bring this amazing industry and accessibility to the rest of the regions where people can't get to London, are unable to, want to understand more about what we do as an industry. So that was hugely exciting. So we want to expand on that as well.
Amazing. Scott, do you take Fashion Week or the whole system outside of Berlin as well? Do you find that important, or to bring it outside of Berlin?
Not so necessarily the Fashion Week, but I mean, in Germany, we do have a different also situation politically with all our states. That's more on terms of which politicians do you address for certain topics. But yes, we go to Hamburg, we go to Munich, to Frankfurt, to Mannheim, to Düsseldorf, and we have networking venues there. That's how we started. We do feel it's not enough, but
it's never enough.
It's never enough. We're working on certain ideas. How can we become more regional? We're testing it in Mannheim. That's one example that we opened up. We call it Local 1. Maybe there would be a Local 2, Local 3, Local 4.
Can I ask why Mannheim, of all the places you just mentioned?
Beautiful city.
Wonderful.
To be honest, I studied in Mannheim, and the governing mayor, not the governing, the mayor he's not in office anymore, was a great supporter of the creative industries. So he created tremendous and really successful hubs for the music industry and also for fashion and textile. And out of pure coincidence, a very good person who runs that center of fashion, I studied with. So we had conversations and we said, let's use that as a little pilot and see what can we do with local government, what can we do with the local community. We're trying things and experimenting what we can do. So far, it's trying to get the brands there involved in maybe Berlin Fashion Week. We host networking venues there locally, but we do want to do more. And if that pilot really goes well, let's say in the next 12, 18 months, we are thinking about other regions to maybe address separately, differently.
Because I know Düsseldorf and Frankfurt are already sort of part of all of that, but I didn't know Mannheim is the place to be next.
It certainly is. Certainly is.
Watch the space. Now, many people in the audience here are working with emerging talent, or possibly are emerging talents and creators. Maybe you could just, last but definitely not least, give one piece of advice to our audience about how if they're trying to build a sustainable career today, how can they do that and how can they achieve that? Not all at once.
I can kick off. I think probably two angles here. One around absolutely what you were saying about owning your brand and your voice and that storytelling piece, because that consistency of and authenticity really of what you're trying to put out there into the world is going to just carry on building momentum and gathering your own community of followers, and that's a real powerful thing. So that creativity, never lose sight of that. The other aspect is building up the business knowledge as well in any way that you can. From my perspective, climate change really is going to change the way business is managed within, I would say, the next 5 years, let alone 10-year time frame. So what does that mean to your sourcing models, where you're getting your raw materials from? These regions globally will be in a very different place within the next 5 years. So start thinking about those things now and understand where you may need to make some very different business decisions as a result.
Thank you. Scott?
I completely agree. And I would just add that stick to your values. I thought that was very important. And also listening to the other conversation earlier about the collabs and everything. I've seen so many positive collabs, but I've also seen so many negative collabs because you felt the urge to also get funding out of collabs and maybe doing things too fast and too non-organically. So that will always be my wish you can reach for the sky and reach for the stars, but try and stick to those values that you have, that you
Stay loyal to
defined.
yourself.
Yeah, true.
I mean, as you said, stay true to yourself. I think it's important to think from a perspective that you just try to impress yourself or your yesterday self, maybe, to stay in that path. And otherwise, as I said, you're not alone. Stay connected to the people you met on the way. And yeah.
Beautiful. I always feel as well the brands that are the most successful are the ones that always stuck to what they are really passionate about. And they said, I don't know, I believe that bell bottoms are going to be big and I'm going to make bell bottoms until people are going to be wearing them again. But really sticking to your path and to really being loyal to yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what people buy into, authenticity. I would personally say thank you so much for being here today.